All right. So you know how sometimes you and your partner, you start thinking about the future
Yeah.
and like, do we plan everything out meticulously,
Mhm.
or just kind of see where things take us?
Oh, absolutely. It's a classic dilemma.
Totally. So today we're diving deep into this whole couple goals thing. We're looking at this material titled Couple Goals, Predefined or Spontaneous. Specifically, the episode called Defining the Path Together.
It's fascinating because we're not just talking about like planning date nights here.
Right.
This is about how couples envision their whole future together, how they want to, navigate life as a pair.
Exactly. So first things first, what exactly are we talking about when we say couple goals?
Well, the source we're looking at describes them as, those shared aspirations that couples have.
Okay.
And it can be anything, really, from like big adventures like, oh, I don't know, traveling the world together,
hmm
to more personal goals like supporting each other's growth, on an individual level.
So it's like it's giving your relationship a direction, a purpose.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they talk about goals acting as a compass for the relationship.
Okay, so we've got our compass.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do we plan out our route perfectly or just see where the wind takes us?
Right.
The source material actually makes a really strong case for having predefined goals.
Mm.
They say clarity and direction are super important. Like having a roadmap can help you make decisions together. Prioritize what you want to do as a couple.
And I think that makes sense,
Yeah,
because we crave that feeling of security.
yeah, absolutely.
So, knowing where you're headed, especially as a couple, can bring a sense of stability,
Yeah.
right? Especially when life gets unpredictable.
It's like when you think about it, it's like that whole vision board concept.
Right.
You're both looking at the same picture of where you want to go together.
Exactly.
And that could be really motivating, right? To
Yeah.
be on the same page.
Absolutely. And then there's that added element of accountability too. When you've both committed to something, you're more likely to like actually stick with it.
Support each other along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The source actually gives this example of a couple that set a goal to buy a house together.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
Yeah, so they broke it down into smaller steps, like saving a certain amount every month, improving their credit scores.
Yeah.
So it felt less overwhelming.
Yeah. I can see that. So they had the
Yeah.
big picture, but they also had those little steps to get there.
Yeah, and it helped them stay motivated, keep that momentum going.
That's a great example. But, not everyone's into the whole like super planned approach, right?
Of course not.
Some couples, they really thrive on spontaneity, on just letting things happen organically.
Right.
And there's something magical about that,
Right.
like embracing those unexpected moments that you could never have planned for.
Oh, totally. That flexibility, those serendipitous moments, they can be amazing.
Think about it. Like, that couple who decides to skip their usual Friday night dinner
Yeah.
and they end up taking a moonlit walk on the beach instead.
Yeah.
It's those unplanned moments that often create the best memories. Like the source even highlights this couple who um, always wanted to visit Italy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they never really made a concrete plan. Then suddenly this amazing travel deal popped up and they just went for it.
Wow.
And they said it was the best trip ever, full of unexpected adventures, discoveries they wouldn't have had with a strict itinerary.
Yeah, you never know what you might discover when you're open to, going with the flow.
So we've got the structured world of predefined goals and then this free-flowing, spontaneous approach. So the big question is, does it have to be one or the other?
Yeah, can you find a balance?
Exactly. Can we find that sweet spot between the two?
That's what a lot of couples struggle with, I think.
For sure.
And, like a lot of things in relationships, it all comes down to communication.
Communication's always
Yeah.
the key, isn't it?
It really is. So couples can, like, establish these broad goals, almost like guiding stars for their journey.
Okay, yeah.
But within that framework, they can still leave room for spontaneity, for those little detours, those unexpected adventures that keep things exciting.
I'm picturing a couple that has this long-term goal of early retirement.
Mm-hmm.
They've got their financial plan, but they're also open to exploring different ways to reach that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they'll take a sabbatical to travel the world for a year along the way.
I love that. That's a perfect example of how the two can work together.
It's like having a roadmap, but also being willing to take that scenic route sometimes.
Exactly.
So finding that balance is about understanding each other's needs and preferences as a couple, right?
Absolutely.
What works for one couple might not work for another.
And that's where things get even more interesting because the source actually gives us some practical tips for finding that balance. Okay, so like how do we actually make this work, you
Right.
know?
We've got the theory down, but what about putting it into practice?
Exactly. So the source, it gives us some really helpful tips. And the first one they highlight is regular check-ins with each other.
Okay, check-ins, I like it. Keep going.
Yeah, you know how it is. Life gets busy, and it's so easy to like lose sight of those goals, those things you talked
I know,
about.
tell me about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes those big picture things, they just kind of fade into the background.
Exactly. So the idea is to schedule some time, doesn't have to be anything formal, just dedicated time to connect.
Like a standing date night.
It could be, yeah. Or even just like a Sunday morning coffee chat, a walk in the park, whatever works for you.
Just that dedicated time to actually sit down and talk about your goals together.
Exactly. And it's not about like, having a business meeting or anything. It's
Uh,
about creating a space for open and honest dialogue.
and during those check-ins, you can ask each other some like really key questions. Things like, what are you feeling good about right now?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Or what feels stuck?
Yeah. Yeah. And how can I help you with what you're working toward?
It's all about that mutual understanding and support.
Exactly. And you know what? The source, it had this really fun suggestion. Create a goal jar.
A goal jar. Now I'm curious, what is that?
Okay, so it's super simple. You grab any old jar, right?
Hmm?
And you each write down spontaneous activities, adventures, whatever you'd like to do together, and you put them in the jar.
Okay.
Could be anything, like trying that new restaurant you've been wanting to go to, or.
Ooh, a weekend road trip to that cute town we've always talked about.
Exactly. It's like a surprise date generator.
I love it. It's fun, it's spontaneous, keeps things exciting.
And it's a way to make sure you don't like completely lose that spontaneity, even when you have those more structured goals.
Really good point.
Now, the last tip they had was all about flexibility.
Okay, flexibility, yeah.
Because, things change, life throws curveballs, and our goals have to adapt too.
Oh, for sure. You can't control everything.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it means letting go of a goal that just doesn't fit anymore, or, adjusting your timeline because something unexpected happened.
Life happens, basically.
Exactly. And the key is being open to those detours. Sometimes they lead to amazing places you never expected.
It's like that saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Yeah, totally. And those unplanned moments, sometimes they bring the most growth, the most fulfillment.
And it all comes back to communication, doesn't it?
Always does.
Being able to talk openly about how our needs and desires are changing, both individually and as a couple, that's so important for navigating those unexpected turns in life.
Absolutely.
So we've got these great tips, regular check-ins, the goal jar, remembering to be flexible, all really practical stuff. So now we want to hear from you, the listener. What do you think of these strategies?
Have you tried any of these with your partner?
What are some ways you find that balance between, like, having a plan and being spontaneous in your own relationship?
We'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences.
And speaking of experiences, this brings up a question that I think is really important when we're talking about couple goals.
Yeah.
We've been talking about all these shared goals, but what about individual dreams?
Oh, that's such a good point.
Like, at the end of the day, we're both individuals, right? On a journey together, but still individuals. So how do we support each other's personal growth?
Right, while also moving forward as a couple.
Exactly.
And the source material, it doesn't specifically talk about this, but I think those principles we've been discussing, they still apply.
Okay, yeah.
Like communication, being open and honest with each other.
It's about having those conversations about what really lights us up, right?
Yeah.
Those passions, those dreams we have outside of the relationship.
Sharing those with each other.
And really listening, like creating a space where we can be ourselves without judgment.
Totally. And supporting those dreams. It's like being each other's biggest cheerleader, even if those dreams are completely different.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
imagine a couple where one person, they're like this budding entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
They have this like burning desire to start their own business, right?
Yeah.
And the other person, they're an artist. They're dreaming of a solo exhibition.
It's beautiful.
It's about celebrating those individual things and finding ways to weave them into your life together.
It's awesome. And, sometimes supporting each other like that, It means making adjustments,
Oh, yeah.
even some sacrifices, right?
That's where it gets tricky.
It does, but I think that's where the real magic of partnership comes in, because sometimes it means stepping back, letting your partner have their moment to shine.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you take on more responsibilities at home while they're working on a big project, or you offer encouragement when they're feeling down.
That can be hard, though, to put your partner's needs first sometimes.
It can, but ultimately, when your partner grows, it enriches the relationship.
Right, like they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. When we support each other's dreams, the whole relationship becomes stronger, more fulfilling.
Totally. And so this brings us to a question for you, the listener.
Have you ever had to balance individual goals with your couple goals?
How did you navigate those conversations, those decisions?
We'd love to hear about it. Because at the end of the day, this deep dive, it's not about giving you all the answers.
Right.
It's about getting you thinking, getting you talking about these things with your partner.
Finding what works for you.
Because every relationship, it's unique.
Every couple is different.
It's a dance, this balance between togetherness and being your own person.
It really is. But there are some things that always help.
Communication,
Support.
flexibility, being open to the unexpected, those are always good things.
Absolutely.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of couple goals. From planned adventures to spontaneous moments, from those big shared dreams to the individual passions.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But this is just the beginning. Keep exploring these ideas.
Yeah, keep having those open and honest conversations with each other.
Remember to be flexible, to embrace those unexpected moments, and to remember that the most amazing journeys are the ones we take together.
So true. Keep diving deep.
And until next time, may your love story be filled with purpose and delightful surprises.